Hey, what is happening, you annoying Noivern? Today I'm coming at y'all with my Chaos Rising set review and buy list. The buy list will be down in the description below if you want to use it or reference it later. But let's go ahead, let's jump right into it. The first card to talk about, of course, is that Beedrill EX. I actually think this card has a lot of potential. It is a 4/4/4 on the buy list from the Weedle to the Beedrill. It's got that B Rumble for a single grass. It's only attack, 110 damage for each Beedrill you have in play, including Beedrill EX. That means if you set up 3 of these, you're doing 330 damage. That's pretty good. If you got 4, you're doing 440 damage. Even better, 310 HP on a 2-prize EX Pokemon. I mean, I think there's a lot to love about this card. It hasn't seen a ton of success over in Japan, but it still has a long lifespan in the standard format ahead. And if you're not familiar with how I do these buy lists, I do it based on the card's competitive potential. Like, not immediately on release, not the set after that, not the set after that, not even the rotation after that, but do I think the card could be good? How good do I think the card could be? If I think the card will be good at some point, then it makes its way into the buy list. And the cards that I don't think will be good at some point, even if they seem they have, you know, some redeeming qualities about it, they won't make it their way onto my buy list. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. But yeah, that's how we come to the determination around here. But I think Beedrill will be a meta deck at some point. So 4/4/4 Beedrill on the buy list. I did want to talk about this Carnivine real fast just because it's kind of weird. It's got a really interesting attack. It feels like this card, whenever I read cards like this that get made, it feels like there's an intended purpose from the creators, like for this card to counter something. 3 colorless energy, so it is a grass Pokemon, but it doesn't have to be played in grass decks. Chomp down, 80 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon has no retreat cost, this attack does 80 more damage. 160, I don't think it lines up against anything in particular right now in the format, but I don't know, it's just like a weird attack. Did not make its way into the buy list though, because it feels like way too specific to ever like see real value. But it's just weird. It just stood out to me as being weird. Up next, we got the Chestnut. Although it could be a fun deck, especially with Meganium. It did not make its way into the buy list, but could be a cool meme deck nonetheless. If this Pokemon is in the active spot and is damaged by an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, even if this Pokemon is knocked out, place 3 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. And of course, with Meganium involved, a single grass energy would return 6 damage counters to the opponent's active Pokemon. The problem with this card is it is a 1-prizer. Meganium is a 1-prizer. But to get energy onto this card, you probably have to play like E-Switch and Teal Mask Ogerpon, which kind of sucks if you're trying to play it like a full 1-prize deck. And even then, it's not anything too crazy. The impound attack for 2 grass and a colorless, which would theoretically be 2 grass energy. 160 during your opponent's next turn, the defensive Pokemon can't retreat. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like anything crazy to me. So, yeah, Chestnut not on the buy list. Up next, the Delphox did make its way into the buy list as a 4/4/4 for Fennekin, for Braixen, and then 4, of course, of that Delphox. The Flare Magic. Once in your turn, you may discard a basic fire energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. Draw until you have 7 cards in your hand. Super powerful draw ability, of course. We rarely ever see anything draw more than 6. And then even that, I feel like we're usually in like the 5 territory fairly often. The 7 almost never happens, and it's not even that big of a cost just to have to discard a single basic fire energy, and the attack synergizes with a lot of fire energy. 2 fires, Energy Storm. This attack does 30 damage for each energy attached to all Pokemon in play. Once again, another card that has seen very little or basically no success over in Japan so far over there, but I think the future is bright for Delphox. That's why it's on the buy list at a 4/4/4. Got the Mega Pyro EX here, and we're going to go ahead and leave it there and not talk about it any further. Up next, we got the Delibird. The Happy Present attack is an interesting one. For a colorless energy, both players may attach up to 3 energy cards from their hand to their Pokemon in any way they like. Your opponent attaches energy first. We could be helping out our opponent here, but if we're playing this card, our deck is built around the Delibird, and our opponent's deck, unless they're playing a Delibird deck, is probably not. So honestly, I have hopes for this deck in the future, or this card in the future, excuse me. Probably won't be its own deck. You're not going to be playing quad Delibird. But the Delibird makes its way onto my buy list as a 4 of. I could definitely see a deck playing some of these, even up to 4 of them, so we increase our odds of starting with it, going second, hitting your opponent with the Happy Present, loading up a bunch of energy in play to set up for some big attacks on your following turns. So Delibird makes its way onto the buy list as a 4 of. Got 4... That's not Froakie. You got 4 Froakie on the buy list as well. 70 HP Froakie. 4 of the new Frogadier with the Calling Jutsu attack. Search your deck for 3 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Pretty good. Of course, because it all evolves into the Mega Greninja EX, or the Greninja EX that we currently have legal in the standard format. The Mega Greninja EX, it's once again, seen very little, basically no success over in Japan, but I'm hopeful for the future. So 4-4-3 line of the Mega Greninja is on the buy list. Mortal Shuriken is the ability. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may discard a basic Water Energy card from your hand in order to use this ability. Place 6 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. Then for 2 waters, 120, you may put a Water Energy, attach this Pokemon to your hand, and then you do 80 more damage, so 200 damage total. Yeah, it's really all about the ability though. Use multiple of these a turn if you're able to set up multiple Mega Greninja. I got high hopes for this card in the future. I thought we'd see a bigger impact from it on release. We haven't seen that yet in Japan, but a lot of great players outside of Japan haven't got their hands on this card yet, so who knows what the future holds for Mega Greninja EX. Maybe even in the next format. We might not even have to wait that long. Up next, we got a pretty interesting Ampharos line here. I'll actually start with the Ampharos. 160 HP. A Synchronized Pulse is the ability. If you and your opponent have the same number of cards in your hand, this Pokemon's attacks do 80 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And then Flash Bolt, 140 for Lightning and Colors during your next turn. This Pokemon can't use Flash Bolt. If you're able to match hand sizes, that's 220. That KO's Fez, Teal Mask Ogerpon. Pretty good. We have, I'm forgetting the name of the card, Electric in the format to accelerate energy into place so we can chain back to back to back Ampharoses. The cool part about this card is it evolves from this Flaffy that has Disconnect for a Lightning and a Color, such as 40 damage during your opponent's next turn. Your opponent can't play any item cards from their hand. And then there's also this Mareep here with the Thunder Wave for Lightning and Colors. 20 damage, flip a coin if heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. We can use the Fighting Relicanth that's currently legal in the standard format to gain access to Ampharos' pre-evolution's attacks to item lock our opponent or paralyze our opponent's Pokemon, and also do 80 more damage in the process if we're able to match hand sizes with the Synchronized Pulse. So, cool meme deck. I don't think it's going to be competitive, but definitely something I'm going to try out when the set drops eventually. Skipping a couple cards here to get to the Deoxys with the Psy Spear. If this Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy attached to it with the already heavy cost of 3 psychic energy, this attack does 120 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. A very powerful attack, but a very high cost to get there. So currently I can't think of a single thing to pair this with, but with how good the attack is, I have to assume at some point we'll see this card get played. So it's a 1-of on the buy list. Also, this Deoxys made it as a 1-of because it's got an interesting attack. Some kind of like wall stall style deck. Psychic Colorless. Psy Protect 80 during your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon that have an ability. So yeah, the Deoxys here could see it making its way into a deck at some point as well, just to kind of be a wall up against those ability having Pokemon. This Deoxys did not make its way into the buy list. Not as impressed by that one. Also not impressed by the Mega Floetti X. And honestly, it's so bad, I'm not even going to go ahead and read the card. We're going to keep going here. Got the Phantump. This did make its way into the buy list. It is an interesting card. Now, the Trevenant did not make its way into the buy list, but let me read the Phantump first, and maybe you'll see why. It's got that Envious Evolution. Once in your turn, you may put a card from your hand that evolves from this Pokemon onto it to evolve it. Then put 2 damage counters on this Pokemon. You can't use this ability during your first turn. So you can aggressively evolve into the Trevenants. Unfortunately, the current Trevenants that we have aren't very good. There's like another Trevenant, maybe. There's Hop's Trevenant, but you can't do that with this Phantump because it's not Hop's Phantump. This Trevenant says Cursed Roots during your opponent's next turn. Energy can't be attached from your opponent's hand to the defending Pokemon. Overflowing Pain. This attack does 10 more damage for each damage counter on all your opponent's Pokemon for 2 Psychic Energy. This thing sucks, but the Phantump is so good. I have to think in the future there might be a pairing with it. Another cool combo you can do with Phantump is it is a way to generate damage on your side of the field, which can of course be utilized with Monkey Dory, which isn't terrible maybe, but I'm gonna hold out for a better Trevenant in the future at some point. We'll see. All right, continue moving along here. I got the Xerneas here. This actually doesn't seem terrible. Once again, if we ever get some kind of psychic energy acceleration outside of Wondrous Patch, Geostorm here, this attack deals 30 damage times the number of psychic energy attached to all of your Pokemon. Okay, that could be hitting pretty hard, maybe as like a 1 prizer on a Mega Guardi deck, but made its way into the buy list as a 1-of. Good attack there. This Claydol actually did interest me when I read it, but I don't think it's going to be competitive. It didn't make its way into my buy list. The Devolution Ray for 50 damage for a single fighting. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon, de-evolve it by putting the highest stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. We have Brave Bangle. We have Premium Power Pro. So theoretically, you could play like a Solrock, Lunatone, Claydol deck, which uses Solrock and Lunatone as draw power and an early game attacker to draw prize cards. And then once your opponent finally sets up and gets into their bigger evolution Pokemon, you can effectively one-hit KO them for a single prize card, because we de-evolve them with the Claydol. So that could be a cool deck. I don't think it'll be competitive, but the idea is kind of fun, for sure. Targon would also work in the deck. You know, there could be something there. I'll mention this Crobat real fast. I don't think it'll be good. It's a stage 2. We've seen similar abilities on Pokemon in the past, but usually it's on a stage 1 and doesn't need to be in the active. Once in your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may use this ability to search your deck for a card, shuffle your deck, and then put it on top of it. Put that card on top of your deck. It's just a stage 2 that you need to have in the active to get access to this. There's just so many better options for draw power currently in the format. We got a Metagross line here. The Beldum, I think this will probably be the best Beldum in format. So Beldum made its way onto the buy list as a 4 of. Skip the Metang, because we got a way better Metang in the format currently. And then get to the Metagross, which will be a staple in Metang decks, as well as Slowking moving forward. 180 HP, stage 2. Metallic Hammer, Metal Colorless. You may discard 3 Metal Energy from this Pokemon, and that allows you to do 150 more damage. You're doing 300 damage with Metallic Hammer. I know the way it's worded seems like Slowking would not be able to use this. I don't know if this translation is correct. Whatever it may be, the ruling from Japan is Metallic Hammer gets to do 300 damage if Slowking copies the Metallic Hammer attack. Don't question it past that. That's just the rule. I don't know if this is the correct wording, or we'll see how it actually is when pre-releases happen. We'll see how it's correct, how it's worded on the card. All I know is the ruling they're working with in Japan, which will be our ruling, not eventually, but literally. Yeah, you'll be able to do 300 damage if you use this to copy. If you copy this Pokemon and its attack using Slowking. So, also hitting for 300 damage, pretty good in a Metang deck. And if you combo that with a Gravity Mountain or a Brave Bengal, you get to KO the best card in the format, Dragapult, which is pretty cool. KO and Dragapult's not a bad thing. Definitely like doing that. This is a funny card. Actually, you know what? I didn't have this on my buy list, but honestly, I should, because it's so weird and like off the wall that you just never know when this would potentially be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this to the buy list actually as a one of like live while I'm thinking about it. I didn't have it on it initially, but I think it's probably worth it. And that's this Ferrothorn with the ability, once in your turn, if this Pokemon is discarded from your deck by an effect of your opponent's attacks, abilities, items, or supporter cards, your opponent discards the top 8 cards of their deck. So I could see you playing this in your deck as like a one of to like beat some kind of like future mill deck that people play. So the Ferrothorn, I don't know, weird card, but it's so weird. I feel like you just got to have it in your arsenal just in case, because you just never know what the future is going to hold for Pokemon cards. Got the Cobalion EX here. Metal Road. This card really isn't that impressive. I did put it on the buy list as a one of, because I could see it being included in some metal deck in the future. Once in your turn, when this Pokemon moves from your bench to the active spot, you may move any amount of metal energy from your Pokemon in play to this Pokemon. Power Tackle, 200 damage, Metal Colorless. It's okay. Pretty mediocre overall. Mega Dragalge, I think this card kind of sucks. I always forget that this card is a stage 1. It is a stage 1. It's not a stage 2. 330 HP, Corrosive Liquid, double colorless. Discard all Pokemon Tool and Special Energy from your opponent's Pokemon. Then the second attack here for a Water and a Dark. We do have Crispin in format to help get there. It's a weird energy requirement on the attack. Your opponent's active is now Poison. During Pokemon Checkup, place 16 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1. I'm not seeing it. I don't see it. We got the Goodra here. Did not make its way on the buy list, but I wouldn't be like shocked to see this be in a control deck in the future. When your opponent's active Pokemon retreats, your opponent flips a coin. If tails, that Pokemon does not retreat, and your opponent does not discard energy for retreating. This ability's effect cannot stack. Probably not. Probably not. This Tauros also has a really weird attack. Not on the buy list, but choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. Flip a coin for each of your Pokemon with Tauros in its name. This attack does 50 damage times the number of heads to that Pokemon. For anyone who's not familiar, this will work with Paldean Tauros. And Paldean Tauros has a different name than Tauros, so you can play like 4 Paldean Tauros and 4 Tauros, which means you could have 6 Tauros in play, and you could even play Area 0, put a Terra Pokemon in play, and then total, you could have 8 Tauros in play, 7 on the bench, 1 in the active, and then you could pick one of your opponent's Pokemon and then flip a coin 7 times, 8 times, and then for each heads, because it says each Tauros in play, not each of Tauros on your bench. And then for each heads, you do 50 damage to a Pokemon. It's just weird. Like, I don't think this is good. I don't think. The energy cost is a little bit weird. We don't have like double colorless energy in the format. Ignition energy only works with evolutions. You can play Crispins, I guess. It's just such a weird card. I don't even know what to think of this. Like, I feel like there's a couple cards in this set that just stand out to me as just being weird. Like things we haven't ever seen before, or like feel very specific. Like the Carnivine stands out to me as being weird. The Tauros just feels weird. I thought there was like one more card in this set that stood out to me as being like, this just feels weird. I feel like I've never seen something like this in the Pokemon TCG before. But yeah, the Tauros, interesting attack for sure. We got the Patrat here, the anti-Monkey Dory card. Definitely gonna want this available, one of on the buy list. If this Pokemon is in play, you and your opponent can't move damage counters to another Pokemon. Basically fully just negates Monkey Dory. And then we got the Watchog, which we may as well play as a one-of if we're playing the Patrat. We may as not may as well play it, but we may as well have it available to potentially play. If we play the Patrat, you might want the Watchog. Unannounced check, flip 3 coins. If any are heads, look at your opponent's hand and choose as many cards as the number of heads. Your opponent shuffles those cards into their deck. For single colorless energy, I could see you playing this. I could definitely see you playing Patrat without this, but you might want the Watchog. So one of them, the Watchog, in the buy list. For Cinccino on the buy list, I got some faith in the Cinccino EX. Smooth Coat as the ability is an insanely powerful ability. If any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks, flip a coin. If heads, prevent that damage. Pretty straightforward, pretty good. And then Energize Slap for a colorless energy. This attack does 40 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So we can, I mean, we're basically invincible, and we can effectively one-hit KO everything in the format. I don't know. It's a good combination of stats to have on a card. Only 240 HP. So they don't have to hit us that hard to KO us. But if we get heads, they don't. And then we attack again and we knock them out. And then if we can just gain control of the prize exchange at some point through getting heads with Smooth Coat or one-hit KO on our opponent with Energized Slap, we win the game. And winning the game is good. So I don't know. This card I feel like has potential. Special red card. All the trainer cards in my buy list I always put as a 4 of. This is going to be a big one, of course. New hand disruption card. You can only play this card if your opponent has 3 LS prize cards remaining. Your opponent shuffles their hand and puts it on the bottom of their deck. Then your opponent draws 3 cards. Big Catch Net, very powerful Pokemon recovery card for water Pokemon. Shuffle up to 3 water Pokemon and up to 3 basic water energy from your discard pile into your deck. Very powerful recovery card, but it is limited to those water Pokemon, of course. Book of Transformation, also on the buy list. Choose a basic Pokemon in your discard pile and switch it with one of your basic Pokemon in play. Any attached cards, damage counters, special conditions, turns in play, and any other effects remain on the new Pokemon. It is a pretty high cost to utilize, unlike some of the stuff like, was it Thornton and Ninja Boy? Those cards we've had in the past, they've been supporters though. These are item cards, but it is a 2 of. It's got potential. It's on the buy list. Could definitely see it being played in some kind of Noctowl build for sure. AZ's Tranquility. Switch your, or maybe even in Zoroark. Zoroark does have like a bench space problem. So I could see you playing like 3 books of transformation in Zoroark to give you some flexibility and mobility on your bench. AZ's Tranquility. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you move a Pokemon EX to your bench in this way, heal 80 damage from that Pokemon. 4 of on the buy list. Philippe, attach up to 2 basic metal energy for your discard pile to one of your metal Pokemon. I'm not very impressed by this card, but once Metang rotates, there'll be a lack of metal energy acceleration going around. Also, our Chaladon, once that rotates, like that's also a way to like, utilize stuff like Skarmory and make them all wild. So Philippe might have its moment in the future. Roxy's Performance did not make its way into the buy list because Dragalge sucks, and this obviously combos with Dragalge pretty well. During your opponent's next turn, their poison Pokemon can't retreat. Who cares? All right, Emma, your opponent reveals their hand. Draw cards equal to the number of Pokemon in their hand. Also not good. And then we get to the Hyper Rogue Angie Floette Stadium card. You can play this card only if Prism Tower is in play. You can play this card even if Prism Tower was played this turn. Each Mega Floette EX in play gets plus 150 HP. And because Mega Floette sucks, believe it or not, this card also sucks. But Prism Tower is a very good card. Really excited for this one in a couple decks. Sarah Ledge. What's the other deck? Oh, our Chaladon. I think it's also a pretty good card in our Chaladon as well. Once on each player's turn, that player may discard 2 cards from their hand. If they do, they draw a card. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is a lot. In Sarah Ledge, in decks like our Chaladon, it's a really, really cool card. Excited to try this one out. Also, I've been seeing people play it in the Team Rockets deck, and I actually kind of like that idea as well. There's so many dead cards in the Team Rockets deck as the game progresses. Being able to filter those out and be able to open up hand space for Ariana and things like that seems pretty good. So, big fan of the idea of the Prism Tower, for sure. We got some special energy here. Nothing too crazy. They're all pretty underwhelming, but they're all on the buy list as a 4 of course. The Nitro Fire energy. If an attack used by the fire Pokemon this card is attached to, would discard this card, put it into your hand after applying damage and effects of that attack. Bubble Water energy. The water Pokemon this card is attached to recovers from all special conditions and can't be affected by any special conditions. And then the metal Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost, which is okay-ish, I guess, but overall, yeah, not super impressed by this card either. The best way to play like a metal deck right now is like Metang, and you'd probably still just always rather play more basic metal energy or ways to recover basic metal energy than play something like this, not gonna lie. So yeah, none of these are gonna be in the spotlight off the rip, that's for sure. But that's it. That is my Chaos Rising set review and buy list. Like I said, buy list will be down in the description if you want to reference it. If you're going to pick up some of these cards, let me know if you all think I missed on any of my inclusions or exclusions from the buy list, and what combos are you excited to try in the Chaos Rising format. Comment section down below, and I'll check y'all or catch y'all in the next video. Peace.